It was just another ordinary shift for Tasha Williams, a 25-year-old waitress at a small, family-owned diner in downtown Chicago. The diner had seen better days, and business had been slow lately, but Tasha did her best to keep the customers happy. She had been working here for nearly 2 years, and though it wasn't glamorous, she had always tried to make the best out of her situation. She worked hard every day, and her dream was to one day open her own restaurant. But for now, she was focused on paying the bills and taking care of her family. That particular afternoon, the diner was nearly empty. The clock on the wall ticked slowly, and the sound of silverware clinking echoed through the quiet space. Tasha had just finished wiping down the counter when she noticed a man walking down the street outside. He was disheveled, wearing an oversized jacket and shoes that were clearly worn out from years of use. His hair was unkempt, and his face was tired, as though life had beaten him down. He looked like someone who had nowhere to go, a homeless man, just another face among many in the city. He pushed open the door to the diner and shuffled in, his eyes scanning the space. Tasha noticed the uncertainty in his movements. He hesitated for a moment before finally sitting down at a booth near the back. Tasha, always the professional, approached him with a warm smile, despite the heaviness in her heart from the struggles of her own life. "Hi there," she said gently. "Can I get you something to eat?" The man looked up at her, his eyes filled with exhaustion but also a hint of gratitude. "Just a cup of water, please," he mumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. Tasha nodded, but something in her gut told her this man needed more than just a drink. She had grown up in a tough neighborhood and had seen the desperation in people's eyes before. She didn't know why, but she felt compelled to do something for him. Without thinking twice, she said, "Let me bring you something to eat as well." "On the house." The man looked at her, surprised, but then nodded. "Thank you," he said, his voice cracking slightly. "I really appreciate it." Tasha returned to the kitchen and prepared a simple meal. Nothing fancy, just a bowl of soup and a sandwich. It wasn't much, but it was something she knew could warm his stomach and lift his spirits. She brought the food to his table and placed it in front of him with a kind smile. "Enjoy your meal," she said before walking back to the counter. The man picked up his spoon and began to eat slowly, savoring every bite. Tasha watched him from behind the counter, wondering what had led him to this point. She had seen so many people struggle, but something about this man made her heart ache. About 30 minutes later, as Tasha was wiping down the counter and preparing to close for the evening, the door to the diner swung open again. This time, a well-dressed man walked in. He was tall, with a confident air about him, wearing a sharp suit and a designer watch that gleamed under the diner's fluorescent lights. He approached the booth where the homeless man was sitting, and Tasha watched curiously as the two exchanged a few words. The man in the suit shook hands with the disheveled man before turning to Tasha. "Excuse me," he said, his tone polite but urgent. "Is Mr. Daniels still here?" Tasha blinked, confused. "Mr. Daniels?" she repeated, unsure of who he was referring to. "Yes, Mr. Daniels. He's the one who just had lunch here," the man explained, glancing toward the booth where the homeless man had been sitting. Just then, the homeless man stood up and smiled at the well-dressed man. Tasha watched in disbelief as the two exchanged pleasantries. "You're all set, Mr. Daniels. Let's head out," the man in the suit said. "Your car is waiting outside." The homeless man, now standing tall, nodded. He gave a brief glance toward Tasha, who was still standing by the counter, trying to make sense of what was happening. "Thank you again," the man said softly. You were kind to me today." Tasha's mind raced. She couldn't understand what was going on. She had just served a man who looked like he had nothing, and now he was being treated like royalty. Her curiosity got the best of her. She walked over to the man in the suit, trying to hide her confusion. "Excuse me," she said, hesitating. "I don't mean to intrude, but who is he?" The man smiled knowingly, as if he had been expecting this question. "That's Mr. Marcus Daniels, CEO of one of the largest tech companies in the country. He runs a billion-dollar empire. He comes here to the diner sometimes, just to escape from the pressures of his life. He prefers to be anonymous." Tasha stood there, stunned. "Wait, what? He's a CEO, but he looked so unassuming." The man finished for her. "Yes, he prefers to keep a low profile. Sometimes he comes in here just for some quiet, away from the spotlight. He's known for giving back to the community and helping out those in need. He's not what people expect him to be." Tasha was speechless. She had no idea the man she had served was a millionaire, let alone one of the most powerful business leaders in the world. But what struck her the most wasn't his wealth or his status. It was his humility, his gratitude, and the way he treated people like her, with kindness and respect, regardless of their circumstances. The man in the suit handed her a business card before leaving. "Mr. Daniels wanted me to pass this along to you," he said. "He said he was impressed by your kindness today and that he would like to meet with you in the future." Tasha took the card, her hands trembling. She couldn't believe it. Was this some kind of mistake? Why would a man like that want to meet with her? The card had a phone number and the name Marcus Daniels printed in bold letters. The words, "Let's talk business," were scrawled underneath. As the diner doors closed behind them, Tasha stood frozen, staring at the card in her hand. She had just been part of something truly unexpected, something that could change her life forever. It wasn't just about the meal she had given. It was about the fact that sometimes doing something kind, no matter how small, could lead to something life-changing. And she knew, deep down, that this was just the beginning of a story she never could have imagined.